Welcome back to the 2025 Tire Rack One Lap of America, presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine, with coverage this year brought to you by HP Tuners. We can't wait to get into a little bit later. But today, right now, Brian and I are joined by Mark Mattice. Mark, you might remember, is the owner of Hooked on Driving Northeast, former sponsor of ours, as well as a really good friend and somebody who really knows the HPD industry. Mark, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And yes, I'm one of the three owners of the Hooked on Driving Northeast franchise. Yes.
There you go. I stand corrected. I don't care. In any event,
Yes.
so it's great to have you with us, Mark. And we wanted to touch base with you a little bit because we figure a lot of people don't understand the behind the scenes stuff that goes into the one lap. I mean, they think they might know, but you, more than anybody else, have a good idea of what it takes to run a track event. Not just one, but many. The planning that has to go into it, figuring out a whole season. Now, ours is a whole season in a week. Yours is a whole season in a few months. But that being said, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So let's begin with, first of all, your team mentioned Mahogany Ridge, and we'll get into all that in a little bit. But let's begin with, from your standpoint, what are a lot of the challenges that you face booking tracks and kind of putting together something like a season for HOD?
Yeah, usually the biggest thing is really getting your schedule figured out, right? Like figuring out what tracks you want to go to, trying to make it, so that your customers can join you. So ideally, you want to have it on a weekend, non-holiday stuff as much as possible, and then talking to each track that you want to go to and trying to get the weekends that you want, and then stack them all together. And then also, there's certain other organizations that you kind of work with. You don't want to be the week right after them or right before them. Then there's certain one that you do want to be before because they can come for testing, and then it's mind-numbingly boring and a pain in the ass all at once.
Sure. And I mean, yeah, and it's okay because this is not marked as safe for kids. I mean, this is the reality of motorsport, which I'd like to get into here. From us, I know as we plan stuff, it's tricky because, whereas it used to be 10 years ago, I mean, even more than that, but as recently as 10 years ago, I should say, getting track dates were a little bit easier. I think
Right.
you've seen a proliferation of, and for us and for you, I'm sure, but we've seen a proliferation of just track days that are out there running for a couple of days. I don't know who these guys are. They've sprung up large instances overnight. So how have you seen that? I mean, for us, it's made it harder to get weekends because we're not booking 2 or 3 days. We're booking one day, right? We're there until maybe 3 or 4 o'clock at the latest, if that. So what about for you? What have you seen?
Yeah, so there's been a ton of I would say I'll back it up a little bit. Probably 13 years ago or 14 years ago, however been long now, when I first started in the HPDE world, and I had this coach named Solomon. Um, it was my first time with Hooked on Driving. Um, there were way less track day providers. You had your few big ones, or you had your NASA's and your Hooked on Drivings, and your big national people. And it appears as though some people decided that, well, shit, this is easy, I can do it, and then they tried to decide that they're going to be track day providers, and then that just keeps going, and then albeit they are track day providers, sometimes you don't get quite the same service or the same quality event, um, or the same safety, all these things. So it is tough sometimes to get the weekends or the days in the months or whatever that you want, just because there are so many people out there. With that, we were pretty fortunate this year. We have a really good reputation. We you know we actually picked up some days because we paid our bills on time or ahead of time, and other people didn't. So we we were fortunate that way. A lot of the tracks love how we run our events. Santi does an amazing job with the coaches and Cody with the staff in the morning meetings. Like those guys kill it on track day. Um, so that's the stuff you see. And with the coaches, that's the big thing, right? Like, so you have a first timer coming to the track. We don't put just someone right seat with you. All of our coaches are MSF2 minimum certified, which is a national organization which has a whole bunch of curriculums essentially to go through to be able to be MSF2 certified. And now it's getting to where certain tracks won't even allow you to coach unless you are certified by a national organization. So, that's one of the big things. NASA does the same thing. NASA has nationally certified coaches. So, kind of those things to me are a big deal. You want your people safe.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I know
Because
when.
you
Yeah,
can't have a repeat customer if they're in the guardrails.
It's true, or at least they'll only come back like maybe once to get their stuff and go home. But
Right.
no, it's certainly one of the things that we face, and Brian will tell you that the safety discussions from our standpoint are long and many, and we're always reevaluating it, as I'm sure you are as well. And there are lots of other rallies around, we'll call them. So they're not always on track. They'll go from one place to the other, sometimes more money than brains. But we strive to strike that balance of a safe event on the road and on the track. So it's a tremendous undertaking for sure. Brian, what do you got?
So, Mark, one of the things that I've always enjoyed most about coming to HOD Northeast events is the family kind of dynamic, like one lap. And, you've done 3 one laps now, coming up on your 4th. How did HOD Northeast like gather such a plethora of people that always get along? You always see them when you go to an event, you see the same people together. The social events are great. It's a big family reunion each and every event.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that really, quite frankly, was part of Mike and Mona. Like Mike and Mona, if anyone has ever met Mike and Mona, they are people, right? Anytime you see them anywhere, they will come running across, say hi, give you a hug, big smiles, like so they had HOD Northeast for 12 or so years, and they built a very good family oriented organization. We went from where they had it and just kind of continued on. And the big part is just making sure that A, everyone is safe, and then B, everyone is having fun and welcome. So we want people to bring their kids. We want people to bring their significant others. We're doing things now. We're trying to do things at the track or off the track that makes people want to bring their significant others. So it's a family weekend, not just mom or dad's left to go get to the track. It's, hey, the whole family can come in. Whoever wants to drive can drive. The other half or the rest of the family can go to the wine or go do whatever else. Just like our big 4th of July event we're having. It's not just a track day. This is turning into a full blown festival. So those are the things that we see that we want to change to make it family oriented and make it so that the whole family goes. And that just makes everyone want to go there. It makes it easier for people to go. That way it's not like, well, you've been gone for a weekend every single month thing, and I've been sitting here, right? Like no one wants to hear that. So come along, have fun with us. And and that's really the very first one lap I ever did. You could tell that was the same way. It was all about everybody being friends. Whether or not you see or talk to these people throughout the year, as soon as you show up in South Bend, Indiana, you're immediately family again.
Yeah, and that's a good segue, because I'll address, I think, a little bit of the elephant in the room, because people watching this might wonder why there's such a focus on HOD right now when they're not back as sponsors this year, right, for the media. Well, I'll explain a little bit, right? Because first of all, let's start with the assumption that a rising tide raises all ships, right? So let's start with that one, and then let's go into the dynamic that I've seen personally have with NASA, our sanctioning body, and our good partners, right? I mean, you and NASA play tremendously well. You're oftentimes, I mean, recently I got an email, there's another event coming up, you guys needed instructors, back and forth. You're promoting one another. And that's the way I kind of like to see it. And I think that's the way the one lap operates as well. The more people we can get behind the wheel, whether it be a first time or advanced, the better off our event is, and the better off your business is. And I'd much rather see sort of safe, well-run events do well, as opposed to the ones that might put people in a position that they really shouldn't be in, that aren't focusing on the right things. So that's kind of why. And I mean, even HOD, right? As soon as Cody saw our veterans event coming out, May 29th, I do a plug for that again, dog tags and green flags. First message I get is from him: how can we support you, right? Bring down helmets, whatever it might be. So while, yes, we do have different events going on, I think it's important to note that we're all kind of in the same sandbox, and there's really no point in peeing in the sandbox, because it just doesn't do good for anybody.
Right. So yeah, I mean, literally the first thing I did. So I raced, and many people may or may not know, I raced with NASA for 4 or 5 years. Joe and Susan and all those guys, they're phenomenal. I love them. They just couldn't be any nicer. The first thing I did after buying Hooked on Driving is that next weekend NASA was at Watkins, which I live 4 minutes from there, as you guys know. I drove up there and talked to Joe and made sure that he wasn't mad at me.
Ask forgiveness.
Right. And we immediately came up with a plan where, yeah, we're gonna stagger he's had his weeks for 30 years, right? Like, he's not moving. So my plan was for this year was to make sure that ours is 2 weeks off of his, so that we can each share coaches, because we know that we both have good, safe coaches. We know that's both good, safe, well-run organizations. So let's work together on things and make it easier for each of us and easier for our coaches. So that way, if he's short some coaches, we advertise for our guys, they go help. If we're short some coaches, they advertise, they come help us. It's doesn't do anyone any good to beat up a good organization.
Absolutely. Brian, go for
it. I guess, where do you see the future? Give me a second. Jeez. Trying to put my words together. I'm old. So how do you see the world of DE progress? Is it going to keep progressing, or are we going to see a decline in track days with the number of companies now and the quality companies not being able to get dates at these tracks? Are we going to see the quality of DEs go down, or will the bad apples fester themselves out and you have a resurgence?
Yeah, I think, as with most competitive businesses where there's actual consequences for bad decisions, I think this is a self-cleansing industry, I'll call it. Yes, you will have pop-ups, you will have people that will run poor events, and they will be around for a year or 2 or 3. Sooner or later, they will either A, get sick of pissing away money, or B, the tracks will get sick of having them come and have 25 cars there. Because, okay, yes, the organization paid for the track time, but when you have 25 cars there, then the track's not selling gas, they're not selling food, they're not selling rooms, they're not selling all these, so a NASA or a Hooked on Driving comes in and we have, 150 to 200 cars a day. They would much rather see us there. They know we pay our bills on time. They know we're safe. All these things, we communicate all the things well. So that stuff will work itself out. I think the other thing you'll see is, as people do this more, I think the clients will get more educated as to what they're buying. I think initially people look at the price and just say, I'm going to buy the cheapest track day I can get. But they don't realize that you are literally getting the cheapest track day you can get. It's not safe. You're going to lose track time because of things. And granted, things happen no matter who you are, right? We had an incident this weekend. It is what it is. Things do happen. But if you look at the frequency of said things, there is a significantly higher percentage of something happening with other organizations than there are with other organizations. So once the consumers become more educated as to what they're buying, I'm not saying that they're not educated people. It's just educated in the product that you're buying, right?
It's like the first time you into something new if it's your first time, by definition. So you don't know what you don't know yet.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. And it's to no fault of theirs. That's one thing that I think something like this helps is educate the consumer as to the product that they're buying. I would suggest sticking with a national provider. But yeah, I think we're going to see probably in the next few years a decline in the, I would say, pop-ups, because insurances will start to go up for them. Tracks are now taking notice of their safety records and people blowing flags and all these things, and they're changing rules that, quite frankly, help us. They help NASA. They help a lot of these other national organizations. They help us because we already have everything in place.
Mm-hmm.
So these other people are going to have problems. So I see within the next few years, kind of a lot of these smaller shops that are just out there thinking that they're track day providers when they're really not. I see them probably going by the wayside.
I tend to agree. Absolutely. So switching a little bit, Mahogany Ridge Racing.
Yeah.
And the 25 one lap of America. You think you have a co-driver. We know his name might
Probably.
be Thomas or Eric, excuse me, right?
Eric, yeah.
Thomas Eric. It doesn't matter. It could be either one.
He doesn't.
And so you got that. You've been, shall we say, playing possum the previous years. I mean, you've come out with me a couple of times. You've helped out, as you got your initiation. It's thinking about this, I get you into a lot of stuff.
You do. So, yes, you get me in trouble everywhere I go.
It's true.
Same here.
It's a thing I do. So, between HOD back in 2012, and now one lap in 2021, right? Yep.
22.
22? Was it 22?
Yeah, it was, because that was when we had the Wing and a Prayer. That was the Mark Mattice special.
Yep.
Along with Solomon's special with a mallet.
That's when me and Mark got to go to the big boy toy store and spend a whole bunch of money.
It was great.
Mark bought every washer that what was it?
I picked them out.
Grinders.
Yep.
Everything.
It was a team effort, to say the least.
It was fun.
But yeah, and then you came out with your own effort with Cody, who we mentioned before, one of your partners at Hooked on Driving, and he's got Snow Chasers right over where you guys are. Yep. Wonderful gentleman. Also, I didn't have him on because he's not coming this year, so whatever. Cody and Santi will have to have on at some point, just because he's fun to have around. But you came out, you mounted your own effort. And you walked around like, oh, I'm just gonna, go around the track and see what I can do. You brought on an M4 competition, and this year you're returning in the M4 comp with the same car, different tires, right?
Yeah.
Different tires, and I think a little bit more of a goal this year, because I don't believe you when you say you're just gonna go out and have fun, because while you are you're a duck. While you're very calm on the surface and very composed, unless somebody doesn't give you a Snickers in time, or beer. Underneath, I know you're doing this. So, what's your goal for this year?
I mean, not be last, right? Just don't be last.
This is what I'm talking about.
Be safe, have fun.
Yes.
I'd like to win again. That'd be kind of cool. Our class. That'd be kind of cool. I literally, that was our only goal last year, right? Was to not be last and have fun, be safe. I think going in with a performance goal could give me performance anxiety. It just makes
that's a different sponsor.
Oh yeah. It just makes it. It would make it for me not as much fun as what it really is. Last year, literally, Cody and I were like, let's just not be last. And after like 3 or 4 events, we're like, hey, wait a minute. We got something going on here.
Right.
So yeah, I think, this year, I just want to go in it with the same thing. I really no changes to the car. Same setup other than tires. I'm running a square setup now so I can rotate them and a different brand of tires.
But I mean, I will say, people like Ed Gliss and those from Michelin, you might want to watch out, because I think you got somebody gunning for you this year. It's Mark is not to be underestimated. He's a dangerous competitor, a wonderful guy. He'll give you the shirt off his back, but he'll be coming for you. So I think I'm looking forward to seeing that and calling that this year. It'll be fun to watch because I'm not competing, so I don't care. It'll be a great
that's the
time.
best part, right? Like, so when we first showed up, everyone's like, "Oh, big heavy M4." When that's our group to go out, they put me to the back of the line, and then I think the very first event on a track I'd never been on, I caught someone.
Yeah.
And then like, we better not put him in the back anymore. And then by the time we got to NCM in the rain, they're like, all right, big boy, get to the front.
Well, I mean, in fairness, you also rented out NCM to learn your vehicle.
Well, yeah, I did one day at it. I mean, there's people that have been like several days and thousands.
Yeah, we're called one lap of America, and you had one day in America. So, I mean, you have an advantage.
Yeah, I'd never driven it in the rain before.
Have you noticed that Brian's glasses have gone blue and like Ukrainian colors there?
Yeah, I looked like it was Bono there for a second.
He did.
It's a yellow. I'm gonna start singing.
We brought up you too.
That's the second Bono joke in the past 2 hours.
It's true.
Bono, not boner.
No, that's not a joke for Brian. I mean, that's the performance anxiety.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
No, we were speaking with a friend of the event who will be on in a little while, Doug Beecham, Senior, an original Cannonballer, somebody who was in the Cannonball Run movie. So if you ever watch it, if you freeze frame as the boat's going through the house there, the houseboat.
Houseboat.
He's on there. He's captaining the boat. Awesome. Wonderful individual. His son's done the event numerous times, an Ariel Adam, the one lap Adam, so you might recognize that. But he'll be on with us, and his son-in-law is actually a pilot for the U-2 plane. So we were talking earlier today. I didn't realize Bono could fly that well. But right. That's it's very interesting. But I digress. But no, I think we're really looking forward to seeing you, and certainly looking forward to hanging out this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something. It's one of those things where as you're getting ready for it, you're going, oh my gosh, it's so much like driving and work and lack of sleep. But literally, the second it starts, you're like, I'm so glad I'm here.
Yep. And we've got our new host hotel, so we've got hot water, we've got amenities, we've got food, we've got great parking at the Four Winds Casino Resort. So we're very much looking forward to that. And
spent all of my bail money the first night there. Gone.
There you go. Okay, before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you two things.
Oh boy.
One, what track are you looking forward to the most? I think I have an inkling. And two, what tires are you running this year?
So the track, there's two tracks, problem, but so I think NCM, I love that track. It's for whatever reason, my car just does well there. It seems to know its way. Also, I really like pit race as well. I had never driven that track before, and it did okay there too. So I'm really, really looking forward to that track too. I'm kind of happy that we're going to a few tracks that I've been on before. Where last year, literally the only track I'd ever been on was NCM.
NCM, yep.
It's the only track I'd ever been on.
Okay.
So quite frankly, VIR is going to be awesome. I've spent a little time on VIR, and my car does okay there too. Except I get really nervous on the backstretch when I start hitting 160, and I'm like, wait, this doesn't have a cage, and could go bad. So
why are you thinking that much?
Self-preservation, right? It's just like one of those things. I'm old now, and I know shit hurts if you hit things.
Well, the first year we went together, you were still healing from hitting something.
Hey, we pulled his stitches out that week.
That's right, we did.
Yeah, we took him out one of the bars. There was a little bit of whiskey involved there. What could go wrong?
Nothing.
Yeah, and then the tires I'm running are going to be the Goodyear Supercar 3s.
Nice.
I did a little bit of testing with them at Watkins. Brian was my co-pilot. They seem to do very, very well. I don't know how they're going to be in the rain. They won't be as good probably as the PS4S's in the rain, but being an all-wheel drive car, it'll still be fine.
Absolutely.
Well, and they're going to be way faster in the dry and hold up better.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, Absolutely, no question about it. But yeah, we'll that's something we'll follow up on throughout the week of the one lap as well. But Mark, I've got to say, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you for the behind the scenes. We've done a few interviews today, right? Behind the scenes look of HOD, the tracks and stuff that you guys run into and similar to us. So. Yeah. But again, it's just always great to see you for the 2025 Tire Rack One Lap of America, presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine, with coverage brought to you by HP Tuners. One day we're looking forward to getting HOD back. I'm Solomon. That's Bryan. That's Mark with Hooked on Driving Northeast. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Very. Whoa! I crashed my tractor.